Hey guys, HDV here and welcome to a brand new video. Today we've got some pretty cool things to go over. We have some new updates regarding the Nintendo Switch 2 from the recent investor meeting that Nintendo held, and as well as that we have a new potential image leak to go over for Pokemon Legends EA. So a lot of things to break down today. If you're excited for the video, drop a like down below, leave a comment, subscribe if you're brand new, and let's get into the video. So, starting things off, the first Nintendo Switch 2 update that I want to go over today wasn't from the investor meeting, but it's something that I definitely want to cover because it's some pretty bad news regarding the upcoming console. It was posted a week ago, but I'm only just getting around to it. But basically, it's talking about being able to kind of go online and stuff, and in regards to the sort of digital game being played on two consoles kind of thing. I'm not explaining it very well then, but either way, let's take a look at the article. So we've got VGC here tweeting out saying the Switch's new virtual game card system no longer allows a single purchase digital game to be played on two Nintendo Switch consoles online at the same time. It does allow the same game to be used on two consoles if one is offline, however. So this is the article here. It says players with different accounts could previously play the same digital Switch game online together, but now it doesn't look like that's going to be the case anymore. So the latest update to the Nintendo Switch has reportedly removed the ability for two accounts to play a single purchase digital game on two different consoles at the same time online. So they can still do it locally, but they can't do it online, which is just a really, really dumb thing that Nintendo have done. I don't know why they've gotten rid of this. It doesn't make any sense at all, but either way, it says today, Nintendo released firmware 20 for the Nintendo Switch consoles, a significant update that adds new features in preparation for the impending Nintendo Switch 2 launch. One of the main changes is this new firmware is that digital games are now referred to as virtual game cards and essentially act like digital cartridges. So players can virtually load and eject virtual game cards between two Nintendo Switch consoles, meaning one console can have the game present at any time. However, players are now reporting that this new system prevents two users with their own Nintendo Switch consoles from playing the same digital game online at the same time, something that was possible before. So they've gone out of their way to remove this. I don't think it's a bug or anything because they haven't said anything about it recently. They've gone out of their way to make this not a possibility anymore. So in the past, Nintendo Switch games bought using a main player's primary console could be played by any other account signed in on that console, including online. The main player could then sign in to a secondary console and install the game there too. The idea was that if the main player signed into the secondary console and another family member used their own account on the primary console, both could play the main player's purchased digital game online at the same time. The change to virtual game cards no longer makes this possible because there are no longer primary or secondary consoles. Now, digital games are treated like physical cartridges, meaning they can technically only be active on one system at a time. They then go on to say there is a potential workaround to this to some extent, as reported by a user on Resetera. Never heard of that before. The primary and secondary system is now based on the virtual game cards themselves, meaning the console with the card installed is the primary one and the console without is the secondary one. There's also a new online license setting which, when turned on, allows players to play downloaded software or DLC they've brought when their console is online, even if they don't have the virtual game card loaded. Because of this, if the console with the virtual game card installed is played offline, i.e. in airplane mode, the second console can load the game with the online license, meaning two separate accounts can play the same game at the same time. Due to online checks, however, they can no longer play the same game online at the same time. So since the virtual card game system only launched a matter of hours ago at the time of writing, there are still checks ongoing to see how every permutation of the new system works. For now, however, it appears that in order for two family members to, for example, play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe online together on two separate Nintendo Switch consoles, they'll need to buy a second copy of the game. So when the Nintendo Switch 2 is released, this issue will be resolved for some games with the new Game Share feature. This allows a Switch 2 user to share specific games with other Switch or Switch 2 users via local wireless, and both players will then be able to play online together. So not every game will be fixed for the Switch 2, but some of them will. But yeah, this is just a massive L from Nintendo. They've gone out of their way to basically make it worse, and in order to now play, you know, that game, you're gonna have to buy it twice, which just makes absolutely no sense. It's absolutely stupid. It's been the same. It's been this way for so long. Why they've gotten rid of it now is absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, I wanted to quickly go over that because it's quite a big Nintendo Switch console update. Moving on, I wanted to quickly go over this post from Soul Silver Art regarding the Pokemon manga. Quite interesting that the Pokemon have been tweeting out about the manga because they've never really done this before. So they posted saying, "That slide though, looking for a quick read, check out the first chapter of the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet manga." So we have Soul Silver Art here saying, "Wait, is the official US Pokemon account mentioning and even promoting Pokespeed manga is actually kind of wild. They're really gearing up for the 30th anniversary. Just fun speculation, but imagine this means the manga could have a more prominent role in the franchise in the future. Dreams." I mean, there's a lot of things they could easily do with the manga. They could even make a Pokemon game based on the manga. They probably won't do it, but it's just definitely an avenue they could take. But again, it's probably just gearing up for the 30th anniversary. There's going to be so much stuff dropping next year. Obviously, Generation 10. We might get DLC for Legends EA. We're probably going to get loads of other merchandise. We're obviously getting Pokemon Lego. There's going to be loads of Pokemon TCG. They're probably going to drop a Pokemon movie. There's going to be so much stuff they drop next year. There's going to be events as well, like mythical events, whatever, for like we got the 20th anniversary. So they're going to do loads of mystery gifts. There's just going to be so much stuff happening next year. It's going to be so exciting. Cannot wait for it. But this is just another thing that they could kind of steer into with the manga. They could release like a special 30th anniversary sort of manga thing or something. But either way, wanted to quickly go over that because it was quite an interesting thing to take a look at. Moving on, let's take a look at a new Pokemon Legends ZA image leak. Now, this is a spoiler for a character for Pokemon Legends ZA. So if you don't want a character spoiler, then obviously skip this part of the video. I'll give you a quick second to do that because I know that obviously you might not want to see story spoilers and stuff. It's not really it's not a story spoiler, it's just a character. Well, I guess it is a story spoiler because it's about a character from within the story, but either way, if you're still watching now, I assume you want to see this image. So this was posted on the r/PokeLeaks Reddit 14 hours ago, saying spoilers, an exact trace over for one character model in Pokemon Legends ZA. So Lysander is going to look exactly like this in Pokemon Legends ZA. I think it was taken from one of the Discords where, you know, all these leaks are kind of like quite prominent and stuff like that. So it's going to look exactly like this. Lysander is going to look like this in Pokemon Legends ZA. Obviously, there's been loads of story spoilers regarding Lysander, how he's kind of teaming up with Zygarde now. He's not evil in this game, yada, yada, yada. He's going to be a little bit like bionic and stuff. You know, he's like blind in one eye, etc. But yeah, he's going to have this sort of like furrish kind of collar. He's going to have this sort of beard. He's, again, blind in one eye. This is his new haircut. And then he has this sort of kind of like scarf around his neck as well. Again, the colors you could probably make, you know, yourself. He's probably still going to have like gingerish hair. This is obviously going to be kind of like yellowish, maybe palish color, and then this scarf you could just say is going to be like whatever, red or whatever. But yeah, this is what Lysander is 100% going to look like in Pokemon Legends ZA. I'm very happy that he's returning. I think he was a really cool antagonist in the Generation 6 games, and I quite like his story arc now. I don't know what's going to have happened to him for him to kind of like change his mind. The fact that he's still alive is kind of interesting, and then as well as that, you know, what's happened to make him kind of change his ways. And then he's kind of on our side now. You know, he's going to be teaming up with Zygarde to stop whatever kind of issue is happening in Lumiose. But I'm a big fan of the design as well. I think from what we can see from this image, I do really like the look of it. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what he's going to be doing in Pokemon Legends ZA. But let me know your thoughts on this. Are you happy that Lysander is returning? Do you like his new design in Pokemon Legends ZA? And also, how do you think that he's going to... what do you think his role is going to be in the story regarding kind of like... I guess if he does anything with the main character, or if he does anything against the antagonist, because apparently we have to battle him again. But again, I don't think it's going to be like a battle to kind of save the world or anything. I think it's just going to be a battle that maybe he's like trying to see how tough we are or something like that. But either way, going to be interesting how Lysander is implemented into Pokemon Legends ZA. Moving on, let's take a look at the new Nintendo Switch 2 updates from the recent investor meeting from Nintendo that they did. I think it was last Thursday or something like that. But either way, we've got Go Nintendo tweet here tweeting out saying Nintendo explains their approach to Switch 2 features, discusses the platform's innovative aspects, and pledges to create new play experiences for the Nintendo Switch 2 that surprise. So Nintendo has just shared their investor Q&A following their most recent fiscal year report. In one of the questions, Nintendo was asked about their philosophy their philosophy with the Nintendo Switch 2 is it's more of an iterative hardware approach than full-on revamp. You can see the company's response below. Please note that this is a machine translation and not Nintendo's official translation. All the official translations will come out soon. But anyway, the question was, I would like to ask about the positioning of the Nintendo Switch 2. Will future new hardware be similar to the Nintendo Switch, or is the Nintendo Switch 2 a bridge to an innovative next-generation console that is yet to be announced? I don't feel much innovation from the Nintendo Switch 2 that would change the generation. Is this just a one-off, or will the plan to be continually updating each function while kind of inheriting the concept of the Nintendo Switch rather than releasing hardware with a completely new concept? So that question there is basically, this investor is asking, they don't really see a massive change between the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2, which there isn't really. Obviously, there's new aspects, there's new features and stuff, and that's very, very apparent. But in terms of going from like the GameCube to the Wii, you know, it's not like that big of a jump. So this question here is, are we just going to continuously get Nintendo Switches? So after the Switch 2, we're going to get the Switch 3, the Switch 4, and so on and so on, like the PlayStation does it with PS1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or are they going to get like a brand new console, like going from the GameCube to the Nintendo Wii, like going from the Nintendo Wii U to the Nintendo Switch, like a big kind of jump in terms of what the actual console is. And this is what Nintendo has said here. So development of the Nintendo Switch 2 began as an official internal project around 2019. We are constantly conducting research and development into new hardware, including basic technology research. Nintendo Switch has been blessed with many good fortunes, and even in its 9th year, many consumers are still playing it. However, over the past 8 years, one of Nintendo's most important priorities, proposing new ways to play, has meant that software developers need higher hardware processing power to realize this. Basically saying that the Nintendo Switch 1 wasn't powerful enough to run some of the third-party games, and they needed a better, more powerful, more faster console, which of course is now the Nintendo Switch 2. This time, we aim to design hardware with greater capacity in terms of processing power. We believe that Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza propose new ways to play that could not be realized on the Nintendo Switch. I don't really know what they mean by that. I'm not sure if they're talking about like the mouse functionality or just something completely different, like how the game actually runs. Like maybe the game just could not run on the Nintendo Switch. A little bit like Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, that game just cannot run very... I mean, it does run on the Switch, obviously, but it doesn't run very well on the Switch. So I think they're regarding that. They're talking about Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong just weren't playable because the Switch just wasn't powerful to run these new games, which is why they needed this new console. And then they say, regarding your question about the innovation of the hardware, the Nintendo Switch 2 may not look like it has changed much in appearance. However, the hardware and peripherals have been completely redesigned. So the ins and outs of the console inside are a lot different, but the actual look of the console hasn't changed much. It has been completely remade and is packed with the ingenuity and attention to detail of Nintendo's development team, who develop both the hardware and the software together. I feel that it has become a very Nintendo-like product, which is quite nice to hear. You know, it basically says that they built this from the ground up, and it's been designed from like their best development team, etc. So all things that you kind of want to hear. Then they say, going forward, we will develop a variety of titles centered around the Nintendo Switch 2 and provide new play experiences. By creating hardware that continues to surprise consumers with fresh content, we aim for the Nintendo Switch 2 to set the new standard for the Nintendo Switch. So what they're saying there is basically going to be creating titles that are solely for the Nintendo Switch 2, like Mario Kart World, like Donkey Kong Bonanza, and they're going to be kind of new experiences, new ways to play, and it's going to show off how good this Nintendo Switch 2 console is. So all I'm hearing there is that Generation 10 is going to be very good, in my opinion. You know, that's what I'm expecting anyway, because obviously the Nintendo Switch 2 looks to be a much better console. So Generation 10 running on that bad boy is probably going to be pretty good. But either way, it's good things to hear. And I also I'm interested about these surprises as well that Nintendo have got down the pipeline. I think the next Nintendo Direct is going to be like a big one, because then they're going to show off like a lot of new Nintendo Switch 2 games. Because remember, we're never going to get a Nintendo Switch 1 Nintendo Direct again. All the main party directs now are going to be Nintendo Switch 2 focused. So they're going to be throwing a lot of good games at us. Again, they still need to do 3D Mario. Obviously, Generation 10 will be for the Switch 2, but that won't be revealed till next year. But then there's other games as well, like Animal Crossing, Kirby, maybe Star Fox, stuff like that that, you know, easily can be made onto the Nintendo Switch 2 with a brand new massive game. But anyway, that's going to be everything for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do drop a like down below. Let's try and hit 500 likes. It does really help out. Leave a comment with your thoughts on everything we covered today, your thoughts on this from the investor meeting. There's other things as well from the investor meeting that we'll cover, you know, soon. But again, I kind of want to wait for it all to get translated, so not kind of giving any misinformation or anything. But anyway, that's basically all been translated kind of pretty much correctly anyway. What are your thoughts on the Lysander image? Again, very, very big fan of the new design. Very interested to see how he's going to be kind of present in the story. And then also let me know your thoughts on the manga stuff, and then also the Switch update as well. You probably heard about this already, but I wanted to quickly cover it regardless. But anyway, thank you for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and until next time, peace.